I'm going to tell you an audacious goal today. This is something that we've been working on at the Wood Hole Oceanographic and indeed around the world for several years now. And the audacious goal here is to develop an always-on, always connected ocean internet of sensors and robots to track and monitor ocean carbon, ocean health, and ecosystem health at unprecedented scale and resolution. We live on an ocean planet, and we don't really know this planet. We don't know the depths of the ocean. We don't know how the ocean contributes to the very essence of life on this planet. We depend on the ocean for our lives and our livelihood, and yet we have very little understanding of it. The ocean is really the most important climate regulator, and it really governs the winds and the rain and the patterns that we enjoy on land. But here we're really going to be understanding how we can get new eyes on the ocean. So it begins with really understanding what's called the Environmental Measurement, Reporting, and Verification Challenge, that is EMRV. So we can track ocean temperature. So I'm an oceanographer, and when I go out to sea on ships with maybe a dozen of my fellow scientists, we'll go out to sea for 3 weeks. We'll be crashing with the waves. We'll be denied our science because of winds and weather. We'll put complex instruments over the side. We'll make measurements, but we're just there in one spot for maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then we go back home to analyze our data. Meanwhile, there's this vast 71% of the planet, from the surface all the way to the bottom, that we're not detecting. So the EMRV challenge is really to get these eyes on the ocean, the full ocean, full depth. We can do this reasonably well for ocean temperature and salinity through a new set of robots that was developed about 25 years ago called Argo. And these are basically robots that are about as smart as your toaster, and they go down to about a half a mile depth in the ocean, and then they come back up again, all the while profiling temperature and salinity. There's about 4,000 of these robots in the ocean. And every day they surface, they phone home, they download their data by a satellite call, clear their buffer, and then go back down again. And this is what we've detected with the oceans. This is the ocean temperature profile for the global ocean over the last 20 years or so. And you can see what's indicated in blue is sort of colder than average. What's indicated in red is actually warmer than average. You can see off to the far right-hand side here that the ocean is far warmer now than it has been in the past. And not only is it warmer in the surface, but it's warm all the way down, even below the level at which we're measuring. So this really profound change in the ocean temperature and salinity, but we really know very little about ocean carbon. We don't have a similar set of eyes on the ocean for the very essence of the ocean. It is a living medium, and yet we really have no measurements. And shown here in the pink dots here are measurements of robots that are called biogeochemical Argo, and they're measuring carbon and pH and alkalinity and oxygen and nutrients to really give an idea of the changes in ocean health and the depth. But now when we look at the larger ocean, the ocean's capacity to take up carbon, the ocean's capacity to provide oxygen to the atmosphere, it's just truly vast. And the work that the ocean does on behalf of us to mitigate climate impacts is just truly profound. That warming that I showed you, well, 93% or more than 93% of the energy imbalance that is causing the warming of the planet is actually going into warming the oceans. So the oceans are really doing us a solid by taking up that extra heat. They also take up about 1/4 of our carbon emissions. But when we look at the ocean as a whole, it's like a giant carbonated beverage. It actually has 50 times more carbon in the ocean than exists in the atmosphere. The ocean has the ability to take up additional carbon. We know this from the geologic past. Now, the National Academies of Science conducted a study about a year ago, of which some of our scientists were co-authors of this, and they looked at actually how the ocean could be induced to take up more carbon, a process or a phenomenon called marine carbon dioxide removal, such as growing kelp or stimulating additional primary productivity in the ocean to drive carbon down to the bottom of the ocean, where it can be stored for centuries or millennia. Now, I just want to pause right here and say, I am not an advocate for carbon dioxide removal by any means, but I am a complete advocate for understanding, for driving really the best science the independent science that is needed to lead this process. That is, independent science has to be really the referee in this case. And so what we're looking at now is how can we get eyes on the ocean that will allow us to ask these questions of the ocean, how it functions, how it stores carbon, how that changes over time. I'm pleased to introduce what the concept that we've called now here is the Ocean Vital Signs Network. This would be an always-on, always-connected ocean internet of sensors and robots that are continuously roaming the ocean, the full 3 dimensions over time, so 4 dimensions, providing almost like a CAT scan or a sonogram of the ocean and its health and its change over time. The idea is to measure these 4-dimensional properties of these indicators of ocean carbon and ocean health, and also to focus on being able to monitor changes in carbon flows and carbon storage. This is something we just cannot do at all today. And most of all is to protect the ocean by having eyes on the ocean. Remember, most of the ocean is not only hidden from view, it's hidden from any sort of analysis, any sort of measurement to inform what the status of the ocean is. So at the Wood Hole Oceanographic Institute, which is the largest independent ocean science and engineering institution in the world, we are building an ocean internet. That is, we're trying to reproduce what exists in the sky with Starlink, and actually an upside-down Starlink for the ocean. We want to build the world's first internet of vehicles and robots and sensors to interrogate the ocean's depths at scale. So we can actually do many of these things already. We can send an autonomous vehicle out for days to even weeks to a specific mission and then come back. That vehicle can then dock inside a remote docking station. It can actually repower, and it can actually download its data up to by satellite. We can also have intelligent swarming. We can use AI and machine learning to drive intelligent missions for vehicles rather than just passively floating through the ocean. So the idea is to bring this technology together. It all exists across the larger system, the larger universe of technology, not only at the Wood Hole Oceanographic, but really indeed around the world. And we're going to get to the point that this is a global partnership. But what this will allow us to do, and our aim is to develop this capability in the next few years, is to be able to detect the difference between the right and the left. That is, to be able to understand how carbon is flowing through the ocean, how it varies over time, how it varies naturally, and what happens when there's a marine carbon dioxide removal technologies to try to enhance it, and to really understand whether there are negative impacts on the ocean that we really need to be aware about, not just today, but also into the future. Now, this is an ambitious vision, I grant you. Over the last year, we've been spending a lot of time developing the idea, writing proposals to various federal funding agencies, to foundations, and I'm happy to report the status of that update. A year ago, this was a dream, and this year, we're actually able to start this through the leadership of my staff. Each of them have gone out and written proposals, very creative, aggressive, interesting proposals to begin certain parts of this journey. And as of about 2 weeks ago, we've landed about $25 million in federal and foundation awards to do this work. We had a board meeting about 2 weeks ago, and our board chair, Paul Salem, was there, and I was happy to announce that he had actually committed a personal gift of $25 million to begin this journey as well. So finally, we have some support to be able to apply this. Oceanography is dangerous, it's difficult, it's hazardous, and it requires incredible commitment, and it's extremely expensive. Now, this is bigger than any one institution. Although we're leading it, we're really bringing in other partners, not only from around the nation, but from around the world. We're obviously bringing in our federal partners who are helping to support this. We've got partnerships with industry as well. We've actually co-developed a venture fund for ocean-based climate solutions called Propeller. That raised about $118 million in this driving innovation in this area. Philanthropy has been an absolute leg up on this, incredibly important. But really important are the research partnerships that we have across different nations and across the country. It's really all of us are coming together to find the best way to pursue this. So as I close today, what I want you to sort of take home from this is that we really need to have eyes on the ocean. We live on an ocean planet, and we're basically flying blind in terms of being able to understand ecosystem changes, ocean health changes, and the ocean's capacity to take up carbon from the atmosphere at scale. This technology, this ability to build the ocean internet, will allow us to better serve the needs of ocean conservation, such as the marine protected areas, or assess the safety and the durability of carbon dioxide removal technologies, better inform aquaculture and fisheries and offshore wind and so many other problems that exist around the world that involve eyes on the ocean. So thank you very much.